Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. India has a long history with space and astronomy all the way from the times of Aryabhatta to modern day ISRO. The reason why India has contributed so much towards the field of astronomy is because of the great scientists we have had in this nation. All the way from the times of history to this very day, ISRO is one of the most cost-efficient space organizations in the world. India is one of the most efficient countries when it comes to space organizations and space missions. And the reason why this has happened is because of the great scientists that have put their heart and soul into the organization that today we know as ISRO. Dr. Nambi Narayanan was one such scientist who put his heart and soul into his work. He joined ISRO when the entire organization was managed by the great Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, the then chairman of ISRO. He immediately figured out how talented Dr. Nambi Narayanan was. In fact, there's a very beautiful story which is given in his book, Ready to Fire, how Dr. Nambi Narayanan met Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. I hope they make a sequence of that particular scene in the film, the upcoming film Rocketry. Anyway, it's in the book if you want to check it out. It's available in his book, Ready to Fire. This bond between Dr. Nambi Narayanan and Dr. Vikram Sarabhai was really beautiful. He in fact convinced Dr. Nambi Narayanan to get a master's degree in rocket propulsion, and right after that he got an offer to work with NASA, which Dr. Nambi Narayanan immediately refused as he wanted to continue his service only for ISRO. And right after getting his master's degree, he joined ISRO and he developed the Vikas engine. The famous Vikas engine, the technology which is used to launch PSLVs, the satellite launch vehicles, and even to this very day, the most recent famous launches of ISRO, Chandrayaan and Mangalyaan, largely uses the technology which was used back in his time. That's how advanced Dr. Nambi Narayanan was. And when people asked him, why did you name this as Vikas engine? He just said that, Vikas just stands. It literally means development in Hindi. But decades later, he revealed that when he named it as Vikas engine, what he had in his mind was Vikas stood for Vikram A. Sarabhai. That was his love for the great man. And after developing the famous Vikas engine, he turned his attention towards liquid fuel engines because he thought that if India ever planned to do civilian space programs, it was very important for the country to focus on engines which were powered by liquid fuels. And later on, the growth of ISRO slowly started to rise because this was also the time of some of the great minds and scientists in the nation. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam was at his peak in ISRO at this time as well. They both were colleagues. And soon Nambi Narayanan became one of the top most officials in ISRO, and he became the head of the cryogenics department. It was in the early 90s where several other nations started to sign contracts with ISRO because they were considered to be one of the most cost efficient space organizations in the world. And that's when there was a small twist in the tale. In the early 90s, Russia signed a contract which was worth rupees 235 crores at that time with ISRO, whereas the same technology was offered by NASA at 950 crores. This became a direct head-to-head collision between ISRO and NASA because a lot of other countries started preferring ISRO because of their cost efficiency. And if India had access to this super advanced space technology, then ISRO would become a direct rival to NASA. And this was not at all welcome by the US government. And in order to stop this, US government decided to keep the cryogenic technology away from India as India was becoming a direct competitor in the international market. They also pressurized Russia a lot to call off the 235 crore rupee contract with India, saying that this program falls under a missile development program, which was an absolute bull. Dr. Nambi Narayanan in one of his interviews stated that there was no country in the world which was trying to develop missiles using cryogenic technology back in that time. Several international forces were working against ISRO's progress at that time, and here's where the trouble began for Dr. Nambi Narayanan. In October 1994, a woman named Mariam Rashida, who was from Maldives, were arrested, and in her arrest, the police found drawings of ISRO's where there were pictures and drawings of rocket engines being developed, and it is believed that she planned to sell all these to Pakistan. and immediately the police started arresting team members of Dr. Nambi Narayanan, and he was eventually arrested as well. He was at that time the head of the cryogenics department, and he was jailed for almost 50 days, where he was brutally tortured, psychologically troubled, and they even threatened to encounter him at a certain instance if he did not accuse some of the top ISRO scientists at that time. Numerous number of newspapers and articles published fake accusations on him with not an iota of proof or evidence, and the general public believed that he sold our nation's secrets to Pakistan for money. One of the biggest heroes and icons in the scientific community was turned into a criminal just like that overnight, and nobody knew who was behind all this. There was so much social injustice which was being done to Dr. Nambi Narayanan, and not just to him, to his entire family as well. However, when they involved the CBI investigation in the entire case, things started to take a turn, and within 1.5 years to 2 years of investigation of CBI, they dismissed the case, saying that it was a phony, that it was a fake case, a fabricated case which was put against Dr. Nambi Narayanan. And Dr. Nambi Narayanan stood for himself, and he asked the CBI, if this was a phony case, who was the man behind all this? Who did all this? Who fabricated this entire case? Do an investigation on that. And Dr. Nambi Narayanan, in his own words, said that he single-handedly fought this case for almost 25 years, not for the sake of compensation, but for the sake of justice, so that this kind of thing never happens to any other person in India. A true passionate, a true patriotic person who was tortured so much for trying to do something good for his nation. However, in 1998, the Supreme Court also released a judgment in favor of Dr. Nambi Narayanan, saying that this case was completely fake, and they declared him to be innocent. And in 2018, almost 20 years later, the Supreme Court ordered the government of Kerala to compensate Dr. Nambi Narayanan with 50 lakh rupees. But however, the government of Kerala compensated him with 1.3 crores. And in 2019, Dr. Nambi Narayanan was awarded the Padma Bhushan to honor his patriotism towards India. However, after all this case was over, it took him almost 1.5 years to rejoin ISRO. And by the time he rejoined ISRO, there were a couple of people who were appointed to replace his position. It took a couple of people to replace him alone, but he was no longer in command, and the progress of ISRO slowed down after this entire spy scandal case. And the cryogenic technology, which India at that time claimed would possess by the year 1999, did not possess the technology for almost 1.5 decades until 2014. That was the first time India possessed the cryogenic technology. Imagine how big of a setback as ISRO faced because of this fake accusation on Dr. Nambi Narayanan. Dr. Nambi Narayanan have strongly stated that the foreign forces have played its role in the fabrication of this case, and not just the foreign forces, but some of our own Indian citizens as well. The forces outside India have always tried to break us as a nation, and this is one such classic example. How many more Dr. Nambi Narayans have been affected, and how many stories of them went untold. And this is the sole reason why Dr. Nambi Narayanan single-handedly fought for almost 25 years. And I would also like to mention that 3 more team members of Dr. Nambi Narayanan were arrested along with him as well. I'd like to mention their names, Chandrasekhar, Sharma and Sasikumar, and of these 3, 2 have passed away. So much social injustice was done to them. They were not getting greatly paid by the country to do their work. It's their passion, it's their patriotism which drives them to do such things, but still they lost their jobs, their social respect, their dignity, and so much more. This entire case could have been broken by just some common sense from the police department, but instead that did not happen, which is the reason why Dr. Nambi Narayanan believes that some corrupted people could have played their role in this case as well. But anyway, I'm happy that an entire feature film is being made on Dr. Nambi Narayanan, Rocketry, and thanks to R. Madhavan for taking up this project. He is directing the entire film as well, which I'm super pumped to watch. And if this story of the great Dr. Nambi Narayanan inspires you or interests you, I highly suggest you that you read his book, Ready to Fire, which is available on Flipkart and Amazon, I guess, but I recently saw it on Flipkart. If you're interested, you could just Google it up. So if this video interested you, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below, and I would like to make more videos on such unsung heroes of India. And until I see you again in another video like this, take care, stay safe and stay home. Jai Hind.
I'ma take it.